So one thing that really interested me about LDG, you've got your agency companies, but they're either normally commercial or they're residential. What made you sort of combine the two? Was it to sort of reach a larger market, or just because you both had expertise?
Yeah, so when I first joined LDG, because I joined before Daniel and our other business partner Javier, Javier was already here, but we were a lettings agency and a sales agency.
Right.
And that was great, and it was interesting. We saw lots of opportunities, and we used to get lots of inquiries though for commercial property, and we used to work with different agents. And the goal was we needed a commercial department, and we saw if we can do that, we can add to it. We can create a multidiscipline agency, which to me, and actually to all of us, is the key to be an independent, multidiscipline. We've got all the angles covered in an area which is 50% commercial, 50% residential. So having known Daniel, it was the perfect marriage.
Yeah. What it gives you is, at any given time, the commercial market and the residential markets sort of peaks and troughs. And so what it does is it allows you also to operate from a cash flow perspective, knowing that if one of those markets is slightly suppressed, the hope is that the other market is doing slightly better. So again, it's not just from an outwardly point of view, it's inwardly as well. It makes sense.
So you mentioned also the peaks and troughs of the market. Obviously, the market goes in cycles.
Yeah.
Or does it? I'm not sure it does anymore. I think a lot of the old adages and rules of business generally may have gone out the window.
How's your market at the moment?
Less negative than last year so far.
Nice.
I think we're still too early on in the year to actually sort of really give a good read. My sense is that everyone that we're talking to is sort of understanding that we can't really go through any more challenging periods than we've already been. We've gone through a period of the whole world locking down.
Yeah.
We've gone through a Brexit. We've gone through different governments. We've gone through wars. What else can they throw at us that is going to impact us? And we all know, this isn't a political debate or conversation, but I think the general consensus is that the current government aren't helping businesses. That's not going to change. So rather than sit there and bemoan it, I think we've got to get on with it and create our own markets to the best of our ability.
Through all these changes, what would you say is probably the biggest lesson that you both have learned? Throughout COVID, how are you sort of...
Stick to your beliefs. So one of the great eternal debates of the last 5 years has been working from home. And coming out of COVID, obviously that was more relevant than ever before. We were finding it really difficult to recruit because we were adamant that we were never going to have a working from home policy. We've got, we understand that flexibility is required in certain aspects and for certain roles, but our view is regardless if you can work from home or if you can't work from home from a physical point of view, is we believe in our culture. We want people in the office. Our team is young. The typical age group of our staff, I think, is mostly under 30.
Nice. Yeah.
In our minds, if you do not want to be in that environment, I don't think you're going to fit in with us. So going through, as I say, coming out of COVID, we were finding it really difficult to recruit. And the recruiters were absolutely adamant, you need to change your policy. And we stuck to our guns and we said, no, we're not going to do that. We don't believe in it. And actually, I think we've come out of it better for it. We've got a better team. Our culture is stronger than ever. So I think sticking to your guns is one of the lessons that I would say.
In the residential market, things that you've always seen as being a given in terms of when you've been advising clients and that you've seen, sometimes those things just change. So, I mean, the big one for me is, prices now in residentially in West End are like at least 10 years old. So when I started 2001, there was a rule in London that you buy and it doubles every 10 years. And that was understandable. You could see good evidence of that. There was a rule that, yields might be low, but you can get your capital. That you get a high yield outside of London, so you buy in central London because the yields are lower, but the growth is good. I'd say from Blair to Brexit, we had a really good run of seeing that. A few dips, but even in 08, within 18 months, we had parity in Fitzrover in the West End. So I think the advice I'm saying to clients at the moment, and I know, is that there's actually been a fundamental change in the mindset of how you should view the property market, and it isn't about, for residential, endless amounts of growth. I mean, those days will come back. Will they come back like they were?
Yeah,
I think for me, one of the other really important things that I think we've always believed in, but even more so over the last few years, is listening to the younger generation within our organisation. There's a lot of things that your generation do that really frustrate us, and that we find really difficult to get our heads around. On the flip side, if we were to sit here and think we know everything, we've been in this market for X years, that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
We actually strongly advocate listening to the younger members of the team, and we think that they have got so much to offer. They may not have the worldly experience, the market experience that we have, but in terms of socialism, what's going on out there, I think it's so important that we learn from that generation.
You mentioned that most of your staff are under 30.
Yes.
So what do you look out for in young people when you're looking out to hire someone new? What some of the traits that...
A lot of it isn't. I always say what we do as an industry isn't rocket science, and the answer to your question is similar. We want people who have got a bit of personality. We do not want robots. It's a people business. It's not a textbook business. And that's why I admire what you're doing. We want people to put themselves out there. Confidence.
We don't have any passengers here. We don't hire people just to fill spaces. We want people who believe in themselves and actually know they've got the ability to fulfill it. Whatever level they're coming in at. So, I mean, we've got this brilliant girl. We brought her in at 17. And we can see real potential. And she's like, it's fantastic. It's really nice to watch that. And people actually can't believe the ages and maturity level. So that's good. And we're looking for stuff like that.
I think it's actually, and I'm going to make myself sound like a old fogey here, but I actually think it's easier for you now to make yourself stand out from the crowd in terms of your generation, because I think laziness has crept into the marketplace, and I think if you're willing to go above and beyond, I think that will step you in really good stead. Hard work, honesty, all the basic traits of just good humanity.
That's the thing as well with AI coming into play.
Yeah,
I know. I had to bring it up.
Yeah.
I had to. Emails and stuff. Yeah. If I use AI to refine my emails,
of course we do
things as well.
Yeah.
However, I was speaking to an architect called Johnny Wong a couple of weeks ago, and what we discussed was that you can't rely on AI to sort of think for you. Mm-hmm. So instead of just saying draft me an email, you put the email you want to say, and you might just ask it to make it more concise. You can't just fully rely on it for everything.
Oh, no, you can't. Definitely not.
I've always said it, Patrick. Technology is rarely the problem. It's us humans and how we use it is the problem. So we're really forward thinking here, and we love technology. We love trying and new approaches. However, we are at a dangerous sort of fault in the road, if you like, whereby I can see already people are relying too heavily on ChatGPT, and it is dumbing down the senses. They're not thinking for themselves. What we need to do is find the balance of utilising it so it improves on what we already do. Not taking over, it improves. That said, we don't actually believe that AI is anywhere near as advanced in terms of our market as you're led to believe in certain sectors. We've trialled it. We're using it at the moment.
What are some of the ways you are using it?
We've got Dotty.
Dotty, we kind of invented Dotty, didn't we? These guys approached. We had a couple of approaches from people. So Dotty is our assistant who will answer the phone out of hours or when we're really busy. She can divert you to lettings. She can divert you to sales. She qualifies you. She does this at the weekend and after work as well. So we get the calls through. So, I mean, I've done on a multiple agency deal. It's been great. I've been on the train home on a Friday night, 7:00. I've got a text message from Dotty with an inquiry. So I've literally actioned that straight away. WhatsApp the guy. I know I said call him, but I was on the train. And then engaged on conversation from there and got stuff booked in. I'm optimistic that it's not a threat.
No,
because
I agree.
I think property and hospitality, there's a massive human element. So people buy from people; they don't buy from robots. We've seen with purple bricks that people hasn't been a great success. People, yes, put the human element, but there's still that kind of stand backish part with purple bricks. So a good agent, whether they're in commercial or residential, has a lot to offer, and it's that element that's important, and I don't believe AI is going to overtake that.
No.
And this is why we're such strong advocates of being in an office, networking, building real personal relationships, building your own personal brand. Those who don't believe in that are under threat of AI because they can easily be replaced. Those who see AI as an add-on to their skill set and they welcome the human element, they're the ones who are going to thrive.
I feel like, especially at a young age, right? So I'm 20 now. I'm going to be getting my first big job, technically. I'd want to be in the office as much as I can.
Massively.
You know, I can learn off the people above me. You know, that I feel like that can't be done through a screen at home. And it's even just meetings, right? I heard someone say the other day. She said, I'd have meetings on Teams, but we were all in the same office at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, what's the point in that? I feel like you can get your point across. You can emphasize more. You can especially make a better impression with interviews, for example, if it's in person rather than online.
100%. You cannot beat this human interaction. And as it so happens, I think it's really funny. So again, I'm not anti-tech. I'm actually pro-tech.
Yeah.
But for me, the reason technology exists is to improve on or to help whatever is going on with the human race. So what I find quite often is I'm sitting waiting for Zooms and the person on the other end's got a problem with their camera, I've got a camera. If I counted up the amount of time I lose sitting there staring at someone fiddling around with their screen, their camera, saying, hello, can you hear me? Actually, the time saved from actually coming to someone's office and getting this personal interaction probably is negligible anyway.
I'm just going to move on to a different topic where, what would you say is probably your favourite day in your career of working in the industry? Maybe like a big deal that you struck, or what's that one day that stands out to you more than the rest? Or even, we can go with a year. What was a really good year for you guys?
Oh, the fact that I'm struggling to answer that suggests that we haven't reached the peak of our careers yet.
Exactly.
But
I don't want to be crude and talk about big deals.
No, I mean, I'm not. Nothing stands out. Well, there's one or two deals, but as Ben says, it's not about that. For me, what gives me now my greatest thrill is seeing the people around me evolve, improve. I actually get a much greater sense of joy out of seeing someone from the team doing a deal, and seeing them improve or come through adversity or have a particular issue that they've managed to resolve. Whether that be with their own personal traits or deal-led, I just love seeing that. Again, what I love seeing day to day is our brand message, and the fun that we can have with that. I think for so long, property was so far behind other industries in terms of the way we would market, express ourselves. Thankfully, I think we're not sort of in such a box anymore, and people are accepting that we can be slightly more human and personable, and not be afraid. I need to think of a better deal that we need to do to celebrate.
For me, it's, I would say days. It's like the feeling. There's a really good atmosphere in the office. I love it when people are buzzing. I like it when people come in and they say, "Oh, he's got a really nice vibe in here."
Yeah.
And I think so. It's not really answering your question, but a lot of agency offices, they feel quite cold, quite intimidating for all the obvious reasons. People come in here, they feel like when they feel welcome, and we've even had clients who, where you sat when you first came in, and then we bring them down, and they're like, "Oh, I love it in here. I love coming in." That gives me actually a buzz because I feel like we've got everyone in the same direction, and they're super friendly. There's no egos, and that works well. And obviously, look, big deals, paydays, big exchanges. You get a massive buzz out of that, but it's at the same time.
You also just worry about where's the next one.
Where's the next? You're only as good as your last deal, kids, and that's very true. By the way, all the way for your whole life.
What would you say the reason young people should work in this specific sector of property? You know, is it the enthusiasm? Is it the sort of hunger of making something for
as,
yourself?
as in agency, state
in
agency,
agency.
residential,
Yes,
commercial.
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's you get, well, again, I know I don't think you get fulfillment. So you structure deals, you put your transactions together. Certainly from a residential point of view, it's very nice. You take on a property, you sell it, you get relationships with people as well. So you're out, you get to understand people, and I think probably the key for me, the reason I like agencies is variability. No day's the same. You're out the office, you're in the office, you're meeting a whole variety of people. You've got to be a bit of a chameleon, but you've got to enjoy being a chameleon, and you've got to be very broad-minded. But because of that, you get a really good buzz. I mean, I don't do it as much as I used to, but you get to walk around the West End of London, whatever town you're in, you get to walk around, drive around. You're not stuck behind a desk like 8 hours a day just looking at a screen.
I think for me, I can only answer it in terms of what I've found myself. And so if I'm being completely transparent, I've never had or never understood when people say I have a passion for property.
Yeah.
It's actually a line when people say it to me in an interview. I actually particularly don't like it. I think it's just such a throwaway line. Of course, I love looking at beautiful buildings, beautiful architecture. When people say I have a passion for property, what does that actually mean? Because I don't wake up in the morning and think of property per se. What I love waking up and thinking about is the challenges of how to solve problems and people. I think you've got to love people in this business. If you don't love people, it might not be for you.
No, it is a very people business, all of these networking events, and just especially an agency. I feel every agent I meet is good with people. Every single one. Yeah. They've got the good talking skills, they've got the confidence, they've got the enthusiasm.
But it's not selling. So when people have sort of suggested that you're a salesman, that really irks with me. I don't think I've ever sold anything in my life. We're not salesmen. I think that we are marketeers, we're connectors. We're not salesmen.
You're guiding people and you're giving them information. You're educating them on buildings, flats, apartments, service charge levels, ground rents, that sort of stuff. Why this area is good, how it works, positives and negatives. But you're not ever saying, are you going to buy it, yes or no? Because obviously that doesn't wash. My tactics are quite, I'll give you a little inside tip. Go in the room, stand in the corner, keep quiet, maybe look out the window. Don't go on your phone because that's a height of rudeness. And just listen and watch. Most of it's self-entry. Most buyers will then come to you and talk to you about the property. I've done viewings with other agents on half-com deals, and you go around, open doors, and here's the kitchen. You think, we know that. Yeah. And then the one I hate, I think, as soon as you're out the flat, what do you think? Again, no one's going to tell you really what they think. And why waste your time asking that question? And why rid yourself of an excuse when you can chase it up later on?
No, it's true.
Call them back 2 days later.
That is true. So. You mentioned building a good relationship with the person who's coming to view the property. What would you say is your best tip for building that genuine relationship? Is it sort of standing back and listening in?
The best tip is listening.
Yeah.
So it's about listening to what they want. Doesn't mean you don't have to offer them things they don't want, but it's about listening and knowing what they want. So if you say to me, listen, Ben, unless it's above the first floor, I want a lift. So I've got this flat, the second floor. Yeah. So instead of me it hasn't got a lift, instead of me not telling you about it, I say, Patrick, listen, I know you said you only want first floor with a lift, without the lift. It's second floor, but I think it's worth the walk up and maybe give you a couple of reasons. So at least it shows I've listened. Yeah. Because otherwise, what's the point? And most of the people I talk to, the clients, and we always talk to them about other agents and how they just find things generally, it's listening.
This is something new for Atre, right? So I'm doing a quick fire round with you two. Right. So I'm going to ask a question just like that. I want to get them listed off.
I'm not sure my brain works anymore.
As fast as you can think.
Have a coffee.
Let's go with the best advice you've received. Quick fire round.
Never assume anything.
Honesty is always the most important thing.
Is Central London overpriced or undervalued at the moment?
Central London is undervalued.
Look, you can buy property at a 20-year low. And as I alluded to at the beginning of this conversation, we're not in typical cycles. And I think now is a brilliant time to invest in London.
Is there one person or book that has changed the way that you've seen property?
Person, but I'm not going to give you one. I'm going to give you three.
All right.
I'm going to give you Damien Field, Claire Mole, and Lawrence Glynn.
I'm going to go for book. It's more about life as well as property related, but I Never Split the Difference by Chris Floss. I recommend that. Really good book.
Good.
Teaches you to listen.
Nice. What's the best first role to have in property as a young person?
I guess a trainee negotiator, from my point of view, would be
Okay.
a good one. If you want to get into residential, you've got to start somewhere. Might as well crack on, get on the floor.
I think the role is almost irrelevant. I think it's who you are learning from and working with.
Say if someone to message you, potentially for work experience or anything like that, would you prefer email or a LinkedIn message?
Neither. Phone call.
Phone call. Nice.
Yeah, I agree. It's got to be ideally a phone call.
Just a phone call.
I mean, we had a guy, didn't we? Ollie, who just... Ollie Laz. This is your story. This is a good one. People like this story. Tell him how
Go
he
on.
bothered us.
So Ollie was driving me round the bend for a role of some sort, and we just didn't have anything. And I think by the fourth phone call, he had worn me down and has suggested to me that he deserves something because he's putting that much effort in, and he was tenacious, and I just enjoyed his chutzpah, as Ben has said. And he came in, he sat underneath the stairs on a makeshift box desk, just simply because we didn't have any other room, which I'm embarrassed about. So sorry, Ollie, but it gave him his platform into the marketplace.
He was for like 6-8 weeks, wasn't he? And
Yeah.
He's now set up his own shop.
Nice.
So
Good.
he's
Good.
doing very well.
That's a good story. What's one CV mistake that you see all the time?
It's not so much the CV mistake; it's that I have a passion for property. Line.
I would probably say some of the mistakes of CVs are just too long, too fruity, and just not really looking at the point. The older I get, the more I look at the CVs, maybe for a bit of experience, but some of the other stuff is just a little bit, feels a bit irrelevant, a bit over the top, a bit old-fashioned.
What's one skill that you wish you learned earlier on in your career?
Bravery.
Yeah, similar to Daniel, not being intimidated by things, realising that everyone's human at the other end of the telephone. Just get on and do it. Jump both feet in, don't be intimidated.
What's probably the best London street to have a home or an office on?
Office, Great Titchfield Street.
Yeah, for me, anywhere in Fitzrovia. I mean, I'm super. What's the word?
Enthusiastic?
No,
Fanboy?
wait, no. When you're. Oh my god!
I don't know.
I've had a word block. When you think that your kid's the most beautiful kid in the world, or your son's the best footballer, you're
Like biased?
biased.
Biased.
Sorry, biased. I'm super biased, but anywhere in Fitzrovia.
Sort of like a question earlier.
Okay.
Who's your biggest influence outside of the property industry?
It's going to sound a bit cheesy, but it was just my parents. And that wasn't because they gave me any specific skill set. It was more that they drilled into me the basic qualities of being hardworking, being honest, being reliable. And also they just gave me a childhood that made me want to be able to give that to my future children, which are now my children.
I actually haven't got an answer to that question.
You don't?
So, no, which I'm being very honest. So in terms of just generally just enjoying life and enjoying my work has just been the most important influence, really. That kind of focus rather than an influence.
Just lastly, one word to describe LDG.
Can I say
You can say
two?
two.
Dynamic and eclectic.
Authentic.
Nice.
Although I didn't like the way I just looked at the camera. It didn't look very authentic. It looked really cheesy. So I'm going to look at you and say authentic.
Nice.
Patrick, if you don't mind, I appreciate you're the host here, but I'd like to know, having done, I think this is your fifth or sixth version of this, have your perceptions of the market and your thoughts of your career changed at all?
So, if I'm honest, before I started ATRE and things, I always heard people say that people in the industry are always willing to help out. And And I don't know if I saw that properly, but maybe it's because I wasn't doing anything where someone could properly help me out. But since I've started this, the help has been amazing.
Brilliant.
You know, even just a simple repost of a video gets the channel onto a whole new network. You know, I was meeting with Lara Newman earlier today, and she was like, if you need anyone else's contact to sort of get them on the channel as well, I'm more than happy to give it to you. You know, the help has been amazing. And it's not even just with that, you know, it's more so with just getting the experience as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I've sort of done this, people are more inclined to give me the work experience that I sort of need to make myself stand out a bit more and to actually get employed at the end of university.
Without making you blush, I would say that's down to your approach, because we will always try and help anybody who comes across in the right way and is genuine in their approach.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I had a little question for you as well, Patrick.
Go on.
A lot of people in property are in here because they've got sort of family in the industry as well. Is that the case for you? Because I know you were studying real estate, so you kind of always think that people are in it. They got a father, a mother in it, a sister or something. So
yeah, so on the course, I believe this question was asked in one of our first lectures, and it was the question of, do you have family in the industry? And I would say 70% of the lecture will put their hand up and said yeah. Myself, no. My mum and dad both aren't in the industry. I didn't necessarily know anyone when I got into the industry, and that's hard to sort of begin. I can understand if you weren't originally from the industry, it's hard to make those initial connections.
I was never from the industry.
No. How did you make your first connections? How did you get out there? I'll flip the question back on you as well.
Yeah.
The honest version, I was failing at school, and my mum told me I had to get out and get a job, and before I knew it, she had lined up an interview at a commercial property company. I didn't even know what commercial property was, and the rest is history.
Nice.
So for me, I was doing work experience like 16. You had to go through and doing it, and I was phoning up solicitors and stuff like that, writing letters, and I was getting nowhere. So I think it was on a Monday it started, and the Thursday night I came home, picked out Yellow Pages. Your viewers probably haven't heard of it. Phoned the local estate agent. Luckily, the main guy picked up, and I was very nervous phoning him as well, but I did it and did the work experience there. That was good, but I wasn't sure about it. I got a job in recruitment down the road from here. They sacked me. All good people get sacked. I've been sacked from lots of jobs, and from there, I decided, you know what, I'm going to give a estate agency the go. Put those doubts aside, and I applied, and the first job I went for, I got a really great guy called David Stubbs, and it was a really good start from there.
Nice. I'm just going to go back to the sort of initial getting to know people in the industry. So, like I said, I didn't know anyone, but since when you know one person, domino effect,
definitely,
and that's how it's been.
Yeah.
You know, I've started ATRE, and it's I could not be any more grateful with what it's done for me so far. You know, the people I've met. I was at a conference the other day, and I just mentioned what I was doing, and everyone was so sort of encouraging of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I was one of the younger people there, youngest maybe, and they were all saying how great it was that a young person was actually coming to these events.
Yeah.
So if you see sort of events online, Rick's Matrix, this was just government property, go to them, because you don't know who you're going to meet. And, you know, I may have lined up some work experience, possibly, you know, I don't know yet, but anything can happen. You don't know who you're going to meet.
Definitely.
Your work is the work experience here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the other thing we touched on earlier about different characteristics, and I'd meant to mention, but you've just jogged my memory. In property, you need a growth mindset. You know, you when you look at yourself, it's not about getting a job and sitting down and doing it 9 to 5 for the rest of your life. If you haven't got that growth mindset that you're going to do better deals next year, you're going to improve, you'll personally improve, and really have that desire to push yourself, then I don't want to say you're wasting your time, but you will have a better property and a more enjoyable life with a growth mindset. And you've demonstrated that by what you're doing by going to those conferences and stuff like that. So it's evident.
That's one of the things I would definitely recommend if you don't know anyone in the industry, is to go to these conferences, to go to all these networking events, because all you need to say is that you're a student and people are impressed that you're there.
Yeah. It's not really an industry that's promoted by... How many careers teachers ever said, go and be an estate agent, go and work in property? Same with hospitality. There's two big problems, hospitality and property. I feel that they look down your nose a bit at people who work. Whereas look at America, it's a great career to have, really highly regarded.
It is, yeah.
Hospitality and the continent's a really good career to have. So I think it's important what you're doing here as well is opening that up to people who don't have family in property, but might actually think it's interesting. I mean, you're dealing with a tangible product. It's physical, you're dealing with people. If you like people, you like tangible products and buildings, it's a perfect combination.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the aims of this channel, is to sort of, if someone were to see this and they saw you two and what LDG do, and they go, you know what, that's interesting to me, that's not something I thought of, that's my job done.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm happy. And it's why I'm sort of trying to get people from different sectors of the industry.
Yeah, definitely.
As many sectors as I can, because if someone could scroll through my page and just help them find out what they want to get into.
Yeah.
Because when I was in college, I knew property. I knew sort of what it was ish. The only part I knew was be a developer or be an estate agent. That was it.
Yeah.
But since joining university, that's only then when I realised the scope of opportunity this sector really actually has.
Yeah.
And, that's just something for me to try share with everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I wish I knew that back in college.
100%.
Let's just go on to the employability side of things. Straight passing the mic.
Yeah. It's more controversial than me.
Is it? Yeah, this is one of, again, a huge aim of this channel, right? To get students more employed, to get students to know what they should do or what they shouldn't.
Okay.
And employed. Their expectations are there.
Yeah.
Go on.
I think you might need to take a deep breath for this, Patrick. and the reality is, some of the things that I say you might not want to hear, but
no, it's honesty.
Be remiss of me not to say this. Before I start with my views, let's just get one thing straight. Knowledge is everything. Knowledge is power. And education is fantastic. So I am not anti-education. I'm not anti-knowledge. However, what I am anti is students going to university with no plan, no understanding of what they want to achieve, picking any type of subject which is not going to have any bearing on their future career, building debt, and wasting 3 years of learning opportunity when you could be out there in the big bad world. I think the society for too long has been telling people that they must go to university. And as I say, if you've got a plan, you understand, do it. Go to university. I would say even within our sector, the property industry, if you want to go into certain elements of the industry which you've mentioned today, absolutely do it. However, I can only speak from where Ben and I sit. If you want to become an agent, I would implore you not to go to university. And I'll tell you for why. I don't believe anything you're going to learn at university is going to stand you in better stead than actually being out in the workplace, learning yourself. I don't want you to, as I say, build up debt. And the best example I can give you is a recent situation where we had two candidates that we had shortlisted for a role. And they were both really sort of neck and neck in terms of their likability, their sort of skill set. And in the end, the decision was really easy because one of those candidates wanted X amount and the other, who had been to university and had a degree, wanted £5,000 more as a starting salary. They had nothing more to offer me, And I understood their rationale because they had spent the time, they had gotten their degree, they'd built their debt. So I felt for him. But as a business, there was no reason for me to spend an extra £5,000 when, as I say, the candidates were so equal. So I'm sorry that this will come as a kick in the you know what. If you want to come into agency, I've never met an agent who's got a degree or letters after their name who is more capable than an agent who hasn't.
Nice.
Sorry.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, I'd second what Daniel's saying there as well. It's not the be all and end all by any degree, unless obviously you're doing a particular focus. I know some investment agents and stuff like that. That if you're going down the sort of corporate route, it's essential. But on your day-to-day agency frontier, I don't believe it is. And there's so many examples. I'm not going to go naming. I saw Sean Simons the other day, Danny Daggers. There's loads of people out there who just do not have the degree and have done really, really well, and they don't need them.
Just on that, people will say, yeah, it was a different generation, it was a different time. They were saying the same things back then.
They were, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And it's even more important now because you actually, I went to college but didn't pay for it, so it's great. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's different now. It's so different, and you don't, that money you're going to save, like the 50 grand debt. Well, actually, that's your house deposit, or going towards your house deposit when you want to buy. So. But
equally, on that basis, so many youngsters won't know what they want to do. I didn't have a clue. So when I was saying what I was saying before, that wasn't a dig. What I would say is you've got more chance of spending those years between 18, 19, 20 of doing different jobs to actually learn what you want. Because by the time you've come out of university, you're already on a back foot if you don't know what you want to do. You've got that debt. Your peer group may have had 2 or 3 years on you already building their career, their knowledge, their contact base. So I would say go into different industries, try lots of different things, and find out what you want in a real working environment.
Yeah. People change all the time, and Lara said it as well. It's always just a zigzag career path. It's never going to be direct. Yeah. I've got asset management aspirations at the moment. That could change, and I'm not going to solidify my aim of being an asset manager. That could change tomorrow. I could speak to someone like yourself, and I could be like, they explain what they do, and I might take a liking to that more. It's never going to be a straight line.
Just be willing to have an open mentality to anything.
And a kind of entrepreneurial spirit, because that's really what underpins a lot of the property sector. It's sort of an entrepreneurial spirit.
Definitely. Entrepreneurial side of things, you've got your business hat on now. Yeah. What's been the hardest thing of running a business?
I think the hardest thing has been the last few years, in that the landscape has changed so often, so drastically and so quickly. And so, we sit here as relatively seasoned property people, and yet, as I say, we're learning literally day by day. So I think that has been complicated in the last few years, which we've always prided ourselves on being able to give our clients the best advice and real-time advice. And so that's become a challenge because the goals and the landscape has shifted so often and so quickly in the last few years.
Yes, similar to that. I mean, I think the last 5 years, literally 5 years ago, we did the deal to buy out Lawrence. So that was a big step. Within 6 months, I think we'd shifted to this office. We were doing a refurb on this office. We were employing new people. We had COVID coming along. The market was up and down. When we look back, we did a rebrand, didn't we? We did the rebranding as well. So we did a lot of the last 5 years. The first 3 years were really intense, and it was very, you keep thinking, where's this going? Are we going to make it? Are we going to make it? Where's the horizon? And it's just sort of perseverance through that, And I don't believe there's anyone out there who's got their own agency who doesn't sweat a bit at night, worry about cash flow, wondering, what's on the horizon with the property market, and just generally just keeping an eye on things.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to go back to what you said with maybe don't go to university if you don't know exactly what you want to do. So back in college, if things didn't work out for me, I had 2 choices. It was either going to be join the RAF or the army, or go into agency.
Okay.
Um,
I'm not sure which one's safer at the moment.
yeah, but I realised that I do actually quite enjoy. It was more second year college, right, where something switched in my brain and I turned more academic and actually enjoyed learning things. So I knuckled down in my exams then, and it's a shame really because in the papers that I got, I was getting A stars, A's and B's. I think I got 1C in one paper. However, it was the grades in the first year where I necessarily didn't care as much, and that sort of brought me down. And that was my biggest regret of college, because my grades, they were okay, but they could have been much better if I started properly in first year. So this is just for the college people that might be watching. I was at Farnham College and I was speaking to a few of you that day. But even though you're in first year college, you need to still try really hard. You know, you need to be getting the best grades that you can and actually care about the exams that you're going to be sitting. Because I didn't, and that's what I regret. However,
can I tell you? I agree with you, but I don't think it's because the outcome of those grades are of the utmost importance. I think it's because you're setting a set of standards that you need to carry on through your life. So it's a standard setting rather than an achievement setting.
Yeah, that's it set a standard in my mind now that I do need to work hard to get a good grade, which is also sort of what I'm thankful for, that I did do really bad in my first year and could have got better grades because I knew I could have, but that also flipped a switch because I don't want that to happen again. You know,
from any negative comes a positive if you're
exactly,
willing to learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, one day you're going to be sitting here and there'll be some kid,
there'll be someone
some new
asking me
device.
questions.
Yeah. There'll be like a drone floating.
Yeah. But just to finish off, firstly, thank you both very much.
Pleasure.
It's been a really good talk. It's been really good. So what would be that one piece of advice that you give to students who are trying to break into the industry? This is a question that I've asked everyone, and I always will continue to ask people as the last question on an episode.
I'm going to start with something which I wrote a LinkedIn blog about only last week. I call it the ick paralysis. I'm finding that too many people of your age group are far too worried about what other people think of them, and it stops them from actually putting themselves out there.
I would say, listen, the industry, it's not an easy industry. It's hard work. If you're happy to put in the graft and you want to put it in and you feel like you've got the entrepreneurial spirit, then it's going to reward you. It's going to reward you in personal ways in terms of the relationships you build and how much you enjoy your day job. But just really make sure that that's what you're looking for out of the industry at the beginning, because it's a great industry.
Awesome.
Just one more if I'm allowed.
Yeah.
Again, it's such a basic thing for me to respond with, but it's the fundamental, it's the bedrock, and it can't be ignored. And I think it's so relevant at the moment because I think there's so many people out there who are looking for cheap wins and who are looking to sort of achieve things quickly. There is no such thing. You have to be prepared to work your ass off, and if you're not, you're going to fall short.
Yeah, we live in a world of instant gratification through things like Instagram and all. Everything's so much easier now, and so what Daniel says is right. You can't come into property and expect like you're going to be doing massive deals, doing this, and going home happy every night. You know, you've got to be prepared for hard graft, but the horizon's great.